Welcome to another edition of the Lubbock or Leave It podcast. This is a recruiting podcast brought to you by our good friends at Carnley Properties. Everyone knows them as Carnley '09 on the boards. What they do is they serve the entire Austin metro area for residential and farm and ranch real estate. Whether you're buying or selling, they can help you out. And their philosophy is that they're more than just a transactional realtor. They really focus on the client, making sure they put the client needs above their own and making sure that the client's making a wise decision, whether they're purchasing home or land. And so again, I just want to thank Carnley Properties for sponsoring this podcast, and all their info is going to be below the player. So, just getting into it, there's a lot to talk about this week, both football and basketball. Try to get into a little bit of all of it. But starting with football, I think today was media days. Brandon was there to cover it all for us. But as we know, the coaches still have a couple spots to play with, to try to add to the roster and bolster it before the year. And I think a guy who entered the portal recently, who we have posted about on Red Raider Sports, is Robert Wooten. Wooten is a defensive end transfer from Virginia Tech, who he played 11 games last year as a true freshman, as part of a rotation, which is pretty impressive, honestly, considering, COVID and the lack of practices and all that for a true freshman to go up there and play in a Power 5 conference. Not a lot. You look at his snaps, maybe around 20 a game the last several weeks of the year, but definitely played and handled himself well. I think he's a guy from Stafford, Texas. I think he's looking to get back home. And so this is a guy who Tech had a lot of interest in out of high school. They brought him in for an official visit in June 2019. If you remember that big official visit weekend, he was one of 15 guys on campus, but he ended up committing to Arizona, decommitted from Arizona, committed to Missouri, decommitted from Missouri, and signed with Virginia Tech. So 3 commitments out of high school. And now, far away from home. Again, Stafford, Texas to Virginia Tech, not always going to work out. And so now he's looking to get back home. And the Red Raiders have put themselves in a good position to add him to the roster, we believe. And so the thing with Wooten is he entered the portal after the July 1 deadline to use the free transfer, which means he would be a sit-out transfer unless he gets a waiver, unless he applies for it and gets a waiver to play this year, which again, at this point, it's too early. He's not yet committed, but we do believe that the Red Raiders sit in a good spot for Wooten. And so, this is a guy, a borderline 4-star recruit, 5.7 Rivals 3-star ranking, number 51 in the state of Texas. So, right there on the top 50, and the number 25 defensive end in the country. So a highly recruited guy, several Power 5 offers. Just looking at his list, Arizona State, Arkansas, Syracuse, Utah, Vanderbilt, Wisconsin, along with all the schools he committed to that I mentioned before, Missouri, Arizona, Texas Tech, Virginia Tech, even Houston and SMU. So a very highly recruited kid, a guy Tech wanted out of high school, and now they could have a chance at him again just a year later. Another thing I think is interesting is, you didn't get Wooten, but you were able to get a guy like Tyree Wilson last year, right before the year, to walk on. Well, now he's on scholarship. And then if you bring Wooten in, it's like, you get 2 guys for the price of one, kind of. Because I'm not sure if you had Wooten last year, do you even go after Tyree Wilson? Could you get him to walk on all these different things? So at the end of the day, should Robert Wooten choose Texas Tech, I think that would be a very favorable situation for the Red Raiders. We all know you can never have enough pass rushers in the Big 12. And so he's listed at 6'3", 240. The Red Raiders probably want to put a little weight on him if they're going to stay in the three down front. And if not, could he be a Brandon Boyer Randall type outside linebacker, third down pass rushing specialist, where you don't have to worry about the run as much, and in situations, that could be a way you use a guy like him, but just supremely talented, and he was highly recruited for a good reason. So I would say he's one to keep an eye on. Another guy would more for the future, and this is a guy I talked about last week at length, would be Jocelyn Malaska. He is a 2022. He's a three-star athlete from Bethany, Oklahoma. He's a guy who camped all over this summer. He went to Tech, he went to Kansas State, he went to Oklahoma State, he went to Vanderbilt, he went to SMU. He went out to try and prove himself, and he did. He picked up offers from several of those schools. Texas Tech liked what they saw during the camp. He ran a 4.45, I want to say, something in that range, and they brought him in for an official visit a few weeks later, towards the end of June, and I believe everything went well there. He is announcing his commitment tomorrow. He posted as much on his Twitter, on his Instagram, commitment coming tomorrow. And so, I believe it's looking good for Tech. My future cast is in for Tech. I would be surprised if he wasn't a Red Raider by this time tomorrow, really. And so, like I said last week, a developmental guy. He's a fast DB, that the kind of guy who he's 6'1", so he's lengthy, he's fast, he's got the goods. But now you gotta mold him into what you're looking for. He's a multi-sport athlete. He plays soccer, I believe track as well. I could be wrong on that, but again, just from Oklahoma. Wells' home state, and so you always like to see that. And he'd be the seventh commit of the class if he does come. And so it's interesting that you got Maurian Horn from Oklahoma, and now you would get Malaska, so that'd be two of the seven, and they're both kind of DB types. And so I just find that interesting. But other schools to offer Malaska: Kansas, SMU, Vanderbilt, Tulsa, UTSA, Utah State, Hawaii, and so a couple others lower level. But so, 5.6 rivals, 3-star. I think he'd be a good addition, a guy that the fans will certainly be happy about, and the coaches are certainly going to be happy, able to land this guy over a place like Vanderbilt, who he also visited, and they offered him as well. You always think of SEC as tough competition, and Vanderbilt with their academics, obviously. So he'd be a pretty good addition, in my opinion. And I don't think we're too far off, maybe, from another one. The same two I talked about last week. Jocelyn Malaska, and then I think May Driver Hart. Again, it's just, I think it's days, weeks, whatever it is. I think the Red Raiders lead there, and right now, yeah, no, I know nothing to change my mind on that right now. So to recap, football, again, Robert Wooten, defensive end transfer from Virginia Tech, and Jocelyn Malaska, 2022 DB from Bethany, Oklahoma. I would say those are the two football names in recruiting to really keep an eye on that could soon be Red Raiders. Moving on to basketball, the big news of the week. Every thread about him goes to 500 pages and has 10,000 comments. Kevin O'Banner. He is a transfer from Oral Roberts, 6'8" forward, and it's publicly it's down to Tech in Arkansas. I think a couple of reporters out there, maybe posted today that he's going to be coming to Texas Tech. I have no reason to doubt them at all. But publicly, he has yet to make an announcement, and so we'll see. Let the kid have his moment, whatever you want to call it. But yes, the Red Raiders sit in a great position for Kevin O'Banner, and I think if he does come, I can't remember a front court Bryson, the Tech's ever, had in recent history, as talented as this one would be, between Bryson Williams from UTEP, Marcus Santos Silva, and Kevin O'Banner. Obviously, other guys who can play kind of the four, Buzo Agbo and KJ Allen, even Shannon can play small ball four, Kevin McCullough. But I'm just talking about kind of more traditional, bigs. I would say O'Banner, Bryson, Marcus Santos Silva, and then Daniel Bacho would be, kind of a backup there, but just supremely talented. Kevin O'Banner last season averaged 19 points or 18.7 points, 9.6 rebounds a game. Excuse me. Shot over 50% from the field, 46% from three, 87 from the line. He is just a tremendous offensive weapon. Anyone who watched the NCAA tournament can tell you that. Just looking at some of his game logs, he in the NCAA tournament, he played 3 games. He had 3 double-doubles, but not just any double-doubles. He had 30 against Ohio State, who was a 2 seed. He had 28 against Florida, plus 4 steals. And then against Arkansas, who, funnily enough, is the other main competitor here, he had 12 and 11. So, his worst game of the tournament, but still a double-double, which, if that's your worst game, then sign me up. But just looking at some of his other games, first game of the year against Missouri, 17 and 9. That's right there for a double-double. He played at Wichita State in the third game of the year, had 27 and 7. He shot 50% from the field, hit 4 threes. At Oklahoma State, he had 16 points, 12 rebounds. That's Big 12 right there. At Oklahoma, 16 points, 8 rebounds. They played Arkansas in the regular season as well as in the tournament. In the regular season, he had 21 points and 10 rebounds in Arkansas. You look at the production, it's just unbelievable. And he's doing this against Power 5 programs, against Big 12 programs. If he does choose Tech, where does he play? I don't know if he's the 5 or the 4, however you want to do it. But I think either way, him and Bryson Williams are both clear starters. I think they're interchangeable. They're both offensive minded, which is kind of a change around here. I don't think you've ever had, especially a duo like those two, just as offensively talented in recent years. And then, Mark Adams, what he does with the defense, you just kind of hope that can translate to both of them as well on that end of the floor. But he was a 2-time All-Summit selection. He was Summit All-Freshman team, Summit League, Rookie of the Year, all the accolades. Kevin O'Banner's got them. He's originally from Houston, Texas, played at Mount Zion Christian Academy. And yeah, there are no words to describe. This guy's like the best transfer on the market right now, right? And so what else can you say? I think this would be a tremendous recruiting job by Mark Adams, the entire staff. Got to give credit to Talvin Hester, who recruited him to Oral Roberts, even though he never actually coached him at Oral Roberts. I believe he left as soon as O'Banner arrived. Talvin Hester left to Louisiana Tech, but he recruited him there. So you got to give him a bunch of credit for that. But it's just, so if you do add O'Banner, the first question everyone's going to have, what's the starting lineup? Who cares, right? You're going to have these guys are all going to play big minutes, whether you saw last year Shannon come off the bench, whether he starts, whether he's a 6-man. I'm not talking about Shannon or O'Banner. I'm just giving an example. the guys who are going to deserve the big minutes are going to play big minutes, whether they're starting or coming off the bench. Obviously, right now, everyone looks at point guard as kind of the biggest hole on the roster. There's some thought that Kevin McCullough could be a guy you slide over there. He played point guard in high school. It's an option. Um, Malik Wilson, transferred from Louisiana, another guy. And then Davion Warren, transferred from Hampton, could also be an option as a guy who's handled the ball a lot. He had some turnover problems up at Hampton, but you have options. I mean, there are several guys. Clarence Dolney is reportedly going to have surgery and be out until, I believe, either late December, early January, right around the start of conference play is kind of the word. And so you'd love to add another guard, I think. The top guy was Jaden Shackelford from Alabama. I honestly don't know what happened there. I think Tech was a front runner at one point, and then kind of, the word was Shackelford has no interest. So, but is that over? I don't believe so. I still think there could be a chance a guy like Shackelford sees Kevin O'Banner come to Lubbock, and Shackelford's like, heck yeah, I want to go there. I want to go win, because now you look at the roster with O'Banner, and it already was loaded before. Now it's even more loaded. Could that sway a guy like Shackelford? I'm not going to count it out. Beyond him, there are a couple other guard prospects I talked about. I don't know how serious the interest is there with those other guard prospects. Keith Williams from Cincinnati, and then DeAndre Jones. He just committed to St. Louis, so cross him off the board. But the guard options in the portal are not great right now, and so kind of looking at maybe a Shackelford or bust situation. But like I said, Tech has options: Kevin McCullough, Malik Wilson, Davion Warren, and then hopefully you can get Clarence back at a good time. Other than that, that's about it for basketball. Talked about the two football recruits that could be close, and again, media days just ended today, which means we're just getting that much closer to football season. I posted today Kirk Bowles' tweet, and he is a reporter for the Austin American Statesman. And, I just thought it was interesting. He says, I really think Texas Tech, with a much better defense, will be the most improved team in the Big 12, which, just sounds good to me. Like, I get it. It's media day. Everyone's hyped. But, I've been on record before. I think this team can win 8 games, just looking at the roster. And so, it's Kool-Aid drinking season. And, I think things are looking up for the Red Raiders football team. And so, we'll see. It's only talk, and you gotta win the games now. And so I think that'll do it for this week's edition of the Lubbock Believer podcast. We'll make sure to stay on top of all the recruiting coverage. Again, I expect a commitment tomorrow: Jocelyn Alaska, Robert Wooten potentially shortly after, and then Kevin O'Banner. He'll end up a Red Raider at the end of the day. And if I'm wrong, then, I'm not going to eat a shoe, but I'll, might have to do something sort of like that. But thanks again, guys. Thanks for watching.